Good morning, dear students. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Okay. Yes, it's been more than a week since we have done some concepts related to atom. We try to understand how electrons are filled and all those things, right? We'll continue the concept of filling up of electrons. In the beginning, let's spend about 5 minutes to just revise what has been done in the previous class. Okay, I hope you all remember. Just take 5 minutes to revise. Okay, looking at that, once. Okay. See, we have seen atoms are there everywhere. Atoms are part of any matter in any state. Okay, so be it solid, liquid, or the gaseous state, or even go to the extreme temperatures of plasma. So atoms are there, maybe ionized in plasma, but atoms are common constituents of the entire universe, be it plants, trees, flowers, water, and atoms are the root cause of the properties of many matter. Okay, it may be density, it may be uh, brilliance, it may be magnetic nature. So anything for that matter, atoms are the root cause of everything. The word atom was coined first by John Dalton in his theory called atomic theory of matter. According to him, whatever he imagined was atom was fundamental. It is indivisible and invisible. That was the concept when he proposed. Correct. So then, as of now, whatever we know about atom just disproves the concept of John Dalton. Whatever he has given, it is quite exactly opposite to that of John Dalton. Correct. It is now divisible into subatomic particles. It can be indirect ways. If it can be visualized, and also, therefore, it is not fundamental. So later, many experiments led to the discovery of electron, proton, neutron as basic fundamental particles. Their mass and charge was determined. Okay, you need to remember. So all these things again we'll take up in actual chapter later when you enter into first piece. Okay, so there is some kind of similarity between the structure of atom and how planets rotate around the Earth and Earth rotates around the Sun. Similar model is there, though it is not exactly so. Okay. Now, the question basically arises whenever we say atom. So, electrons are there, protons are there, neutrons are there. Protons and neutrons being present in the nucleus, electrons are there outside. This is what our perception and understanding about an atom. Now, where is exactly electron residing? So, some of you said orbit, and some of you said orbital. So, it's basically so orbital. Now, what is an orbital? Okay, so where is an orbital? Orbital is there in a subshell. Where is a subshell? Subshell is there in a shell, and shell is there around the nucleus. So, orbital is there in a subshell, subshell is there in a shell, shell is there around the nucleus. Okay, so electron is there in the orbit. Okay, so let's elaborate on the subshell. So these S, P, D, F are the subshells we have. Okay, in these subshells there are orbitals actually, but in our day-to-day conversation we don't use the subshell word quite often. We say S orbital, P orbital, like that. An orbital of a particular subshell will be directly taken into account. So now subshells contain orbitals. We know the S subshell. When I say there is one orbital in it. Okay, so that's why we say S orbital, S subshell, both are same like that, right? So P subshell has three orbitals in it. You can see we write, symbolically we represent P subshell with a block containing three orbitals. Correct. Similarly, D subshell has five orbitals in it. So we symbolically represent a block with five boxes. So each box is an orbital. So that entire block of five boxes is a subshell. So similarly, F has seven orbitals. Looking at that, So do we have beyond F subshell also? Do we have other subshells also? That was the question I asked. Again, I'm repeating. So what is your answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Which are the other subshells?
GH.
GHI.
G.
Exactly. Is there any limit for having subshells in an atom?
No.
Like the way there can be many shells, there can be many subshells, but it is not that all these subshells and shells and orbitals are filled in all the atoms. No. Whatever the elements we know so far have electrons distributed up to seventh shell, that's all. So in all those elements where electrons are distributed up to 7 shell, only S, P, D, F subshells are filled, not beyond that. So that's why they become significant for us. So not beyond that. So G orbital is there. If at all, if G orbital is filled, it will have 9 orbitals in it in the entire subshell. Okay. So these are all the things which we have. So now definition of orbital. It's a 3-dimensional region in space around nucleus where probability of electron finding is maximum. So finding electron probability is maximum around that 3-dimensional region around the nucleus. That is what is the orbital is. So see, when I say S orbital shape is spherical. P orbital is dumbbell. D orbital double dumbbell. F orbital shape is so complex that recently they said it is distracted double dumbbell. It is an informal terminology. Still, it is not yet incorporated into the textbooks. So as of now, we say F orbital is complex. You can see these are all the orbitals. A typical one of the orbital of F looks like that. Okay. So S spherical, P dumbbell, D double dumbbell, and F is say quite complex. These are the shapes of the atoms. Now you take any atom, there may be several electrons in many orbitals distributed in different subshells of various shells. Correct? That is how exactly electrons are distributed in an atom. So how can they be distinguished from one another? Okay, if there are 100 electrons in an atom, 100 electrons will be similar in terms of their charge and mass. They're all similar. Okay, so if we, for example, look at Chinese, they all look very similar to us. Similarly, for them, we would be similar to them. Okay, so the questions like how do they distinguish among themselves? So same thing happens in case of an atom. All electrons are similar. So how do we, for our study purpose, to understand, to explore the properties and everything, we need to know electrons distribution and which electron is taking part in a particular reaction. So how do we identify basically? So that is by set of 4 numbers. What are those set of 4 numbers called? Anybody remember?
Quantum numbers.
Okay. So they give information about position, shape of orbital, momentum, spin, these vital information given by these numbers. And by using that, we can identify each electron, and thus we can differentiate between any 2 electron in an atom or in an orbital. Okay. So that is the thing. These are quantum numbers. Okay. Right. So far we have 118 elements reported. So probably being later young scientist, you can add some more elements, new synthetic elements, all these things. So who knows? So as of now, it is 118. So means an atom can accommodate several electrons. Is the thing. So distribution of electrons into various orbitals is simply not random. It is highly systematic. It is governed by certain set of rules. Okay. So those rules are rules governing electronic configuration. The very word electronic configuration itself means that filling electrons into orbitals of various subshells in a shell. So when you write electronic configuration, you will get to know all these things. Okay. So simply you cannot fill the electrons randomly. There are set of rules for that. What is this? Half bar or half bow?
Off bar.
Half bar. Okay.
Half bar.
Half bar principle means to build the electrons. So what it simply says, electrons are filled into various orbitals in the increasing order of their energy. That means an orbital with lower energy is filled first, followed by the orbital with higher energy, higher energy, higher energy. Okay, so that's the meaning of that. So how do we get to know the increasing order of energies of various orbitals in the atom? There are many orbitals because there are many subshells, many shells. So how do we know about it? So for that, we have written an energy profile diagram, correct? And the energy profile diagram follows different orbitals in each shell, and we draw arrow marks and follow arrow mark from tail to head like that to get the sequence of increasing order of energy of various orbitals. Now, it's a challenge for you. Can anybody instantly give the increasing energy order of all the orbitals from 1s to the 7p, 7s? I had given you some hints
1s,
to remember. Come on, somebody tell me. Come on.
1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 4s, 3d, 4p, 5s, 4d, 5p, 6s, 4f, 5d, 6p, 7s, 5f, 6d, 7p.
That's fantastic. Okay, that's fantastic. So, what are the two important points you followed while remembering this?
So for d orbital, we have to subtract 1 for the
Shell for d orbital, shell number should be 1 less than
1 less
shell number
than
of s.
s
Correct.
orbital.
Ah,
And for f, we and after 3s 3p, after 4s we have to start with the d orbital.
fantastic. Ah,
And also after the 4d gets filled, we have to start with f orbital, and for f orbital it will be 2 less than s orbital's number.
correct, correct. Very good, Tanya. So that's fantastic.
Yes.
And now this is energy profile diagram. She just remembers everything. So now with a hint, with a clue, there can be a shortcut to memorize things. Okay. See, it is not like if there are some 100 mobile numbers randomly, if you need to remember, with even digits being very random, it is highly difficult. There is no clue for that. Okay. Otherwise, when it comes to subject and the memory with respect to the subject, you need to find the formula. It is all individualistic. I would have given some idea. By practicing, by repeated hard work, you will develop your own formula for remembering. That you need to do in science. So when you understand things, remembering becomes easy. And if you develop this kind of formula also, it becomes much more easy. It is like zipping the file. There is 1 GB file, it can be zipped into few MBs. So the same thing happens here. You need to remember so much. So if you have understanding, that will zip by one step. If you have some ideas for shortcut, it will zip further. Okay, so you can easily remember things. So always you need to do like this. Whether teacher gives some idea, you can develop your own. Okay, so teacher also would give. Okay, right. So you just need to follow the arrow marks from tail to head. You get this increasing order. So I just have told you this: 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. No discontinuity in filling up of electrons. So from where exactly discontinuity in filling up of orbitals happens with the electrons? From 4s. So from 4s, 3d will be incorporated. Similarly, another place where it is discontinuous is from 6s, 4f starts filling. Okay, 2 points you have to remember at this stage. That is, after 4s, 3d will be filled. After 6s, 4f will be filled. Okay, so after 4s, D. After 6s, F. Okay, I think my internet is little slow. I'll just switch off my video and then come back because it takes little more in this. Okay, right. So now look at this. 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. So there is no discontinuity. From 4s, D starts filling. Whenever you write D, the shell number, this is 3D, 3 is shell number. D orbital of 3, third shell, that's the meaning. So whenever you write D subshell, the shell number of D should be 1 less than shell number of S, wherever you take. The next one, for example, 4D, it happens it fills only after 5s. Similarly, 5d, it fills only after 6s. Similarly, 7s, it happens after filling, that means 6d after filling 7s. It goes like that. Okay. So now, wherever you write d, shell value should be 1 less than s. Similarly, after 6s, f starts filling, and whenever you write f, shell value should be 2 less than shell value of s. That's with these two hints, you can easily remember the thing. So 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. So 4s, the moment you say 4s, d starts filling. The moment you say d, shell should be 1 less. So 4s, 3d, 4p, 5s, 4d, 5p. Then 6s onwards, f also starts filling. The moment you say f, the shell value should be 2 less than shell value of s. So 6s, 4f, 5d, 6p, 7s, 5f, 67. So this is the sequence. If you know this much, the increasing order of energies of all these orbitals from 1s to 7p, you can write the electronic configuration of all the elements. Of course, here and there some exceptions will be there that you need to remember. Apart from that, this sequence is enough to write the electronic configuration of all the elements now. So how is that exactly? Let's see. See, from you people have to tell me before. See, 1s is represented by how many box? How do we symbolically represent? What, s orbital means how many
One.
box? One. That means what? S subshell has one orbital in it. And each orbital can accommodate how many electrons? Each orbital can accommodate how many electrons?
2.
2 electrons. Okay, so 1s has only one orbital, so 2 electrons are possible. Okay, similarly, a p subshell, it may be in any shell, can be represented by 3
boxes.
3 boxes like this. Each orbital can accommodate 2 means, so p subshell can have how many electrons totally?
6.
Like that, directly, can you tell me now? D subshell has how many electrons totally?
10 electrons.
10 electrons.
10.
F
14.
14.
14.
because it will have 5 orbitals in it. Here 7 orbitals. So just know about this. So the orbital only with 2 electrons is S. 14 is F. 6 is P. 10 is D. I think this is very much important. Okay, just know about it. Right. We shall proceed. See, with the increasing order of the energy, 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. So from 1s to 3p, how many electrons are possible? 2 plus 2 plus 6, it is 10, plus 2, 12, plus 6 is 18. So in all these from 1s to 3p, 18 electrons can be accommodated. Next, 4s, 3d, 4p, 4s, 2, 3d, 10, 4p, 6. So from these 3 orbitals, 18 more electrons can be accommodated. So 5s, 4d, 5p, again 2, 10, 6, 18 electrons can be accommodated. Similarly, in the next set of orbitals, 6s, 4f14, 5d10, 6p6. If you add all this in, 2 plus 14, 16, plus 10, 26, plus 6 is 32. So 32 electrons can be accommodated in all these orbitals. Likewise, from 7s, 5f, 60, 7p, there can be 32. Now, if you add all these electrons, how much it will become? It becomes 118. So that's why I told you, if you remember from 1s to 7p, the correct order of increasing sequence of energies of these orbitals, you can accommodate 118 electrons. 118 electrons, 118 elements. So it is possible to write electronic configuration for any orbit, any atom. Okay, fine. Now, Aufbau principle is done.
Sir,
Pardon me?
could you explain that part again of how many electrons can be in a subshell?
Once again, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Now, you will get further clarity when I discuss Pauli's exclusion principle, Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, all those things. Anyhow, since you asked me, let me do it. I'll go back and take a slide which was having 1 second. that the box representation is nice in that. That's why I just. This represents. Now, see, S subshell has one orbital. I told. One orbital means each orbital can accommodate only 2 electrons. Okay, only 2 electrons. So S subshell means S2 is possible. That's all. So S2 is possible. Okay. P subshell has 3 orbitals in it. So each orbital can accommodate 2 electrons. So S subshell has 2 electrons, maximum 2 electrons. P subshell, entire subshell has 3 orbitals. So each orbital 2 electron, it is 6. And D subshell has 5 orbitals in it. Okay. So each orbital can accommodate 2 electrons. So totally, how many electrons are possible from entire D subshell? 10 electrons. F orbitals. So F subshell has how many orbitals? 7. So each 2 electron. So F is 14. So 2, 6, 10, 14 is what you need to do. Hope it is understood. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir. Thank
Oh. That way. If you want, you can add even G subshell also. So you can see here 9 orbitals are there in G subshell. So if at all, if G exists or filled, how many electrons would be possible in G subshell? Can you tell me that?
18.
So 18 electrons would be accommodated in G subshell overall. Okay. That is about Ahbah principle. Now, if you know Ahbah principle, it's like basically you remember the increasing energy sequence of all the orbitals. Okay. So another important rule which is applicable in filling the electrons. So we are studying basically rules governing electronic configuration. In that first one, Ahbah principle is over. Now the second one is Pauli's exclusion principle. Now people have to tell me. You know, I'll take SR. S orbital, there is only one S orbital in S subshell. How many electrons it can accommodate? We just have come across 2 electrons. Now, how do we add these 2 electrons in the S orbital? Can anybody tell me? How do we fill these electrons, 2 electrons into S orbital? Okay. See, there is electrons which will be added like this. Half-headed arrow indicate 1 electron. Another electron I'll add like this. Is it correct? Have you seen this kind of arrangement?
No.
Both should be opposite.
Kind of,
spins.
pardon me, tell me.
The electrons must be, one should be arrow upwards and arrow downwards.
Oh, that means you would have seen this kind of arrangement, correct? No?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, now S orbital can accommodate 2 electron. We said why 2 electron? I'll add one more. I'll make it 3, so that an orbital can accommodate more number of electron. I'll make it typically a BMTC bus. So BMTC, you have seen, you know, there will be 2 to 2.5 bus. People will be there in one bus. So I'll add one more electron. It will be good, no? I'll add like this. I'll add one more also. If you don't respond, I'll keep adding. I'll add many electrons in this. Like this. I'll add many electrons. Why not?
Sir, the capacity is already going.
Huh?
The capacity of the orbitals is already given, so we can't change it.
Now you have explained my question. Okay, I asked you why not third electron? You told capacity is only 2. The question is about that itself. Why capacity is 2?
Sir, it doesn't have more energy to hold more electrons.
Come again.
Sir, it does not have that much energy.
It does not have that much energy. So that means it's like you can lift it
Sir,
to
is it a question of space, sir?
space. That's what. There is no space for accommodation. That's why only two. Is it so?
So energy is less to hold onto 3 electrons in s orbital.
Come again.
So energy is not sufficient to hold on to 3 electrons in s orbital. 2
Okay.
is the maximum
Oh, it's
to be
that.
held.
Okay. So energy is not sufficient. Maybe there is a response here. Gopal Krishna says maybe electron repels that is why not more than that. The answer is Pauli's exclusion principle. The Pauli's exclusion principle restricts entry of third electron into the same orbital. It is due to Pauli's exclusion principle. We add two electrons not in the same direction, but in the opposite direction. What is that opposite direction? It is spin. This is spin. So electron, if you take, it will be rotating on its own axis. That is called spin. In clockwise direction and in anti-clockwise direction. This clockwise direction spin is indicated by arrow mark upward. Anti-clockwise downward. And also it has the value minus half, and this is, let me write here, minus half, and this is plus half. Okay, just know about it. We'll come back to that. Now, what does Pauli's exclusion principle say? I will give the statement, but since it requires the concept of
Sir, what did
quantum
you say
numbers
about
in
the
detail,
plus one, sir?
pardon me,
Sir, what did you say about the plus one, sir? I didn't catch it.
plus one,
Now you told no plus one and minus one.
no, not minus one. You see, the spin values are also quantized, we say. Okay, spin values are also quantized. The clockwise spin of electron is given by the value plus half. The anti-clockwise spin of an electron is given by minus half. Just know about it.
Okay, sir.
Oh. Now, the statement of Pauli's exclusion principle requires the knowledge of the four numbers which I told you, the quantum numbers. Okay, so when you understand quantum numbers in detail, we can define Pauli's exclusion principle easily. But still, I'll tell you, I'll just give the statement. It states like this: no two electrons in an atom, no two electrons in an atom can have the set of four quantum numbers identical. So what is that exactly? That's what I told you. We need to know the quantum numbers in detail. That will be done when you get into the first chapter of chemistry, the atomic structure in first PUC. Now, for time being, let us not worry about quantum numbers and the definition, but importantly, we will see outcome of Pauli's exclusion principle. So, what is the outcome of Pauli's exclusion principle? A maximum of two electrons only can be added or accommodated to an orbital. Okay, so not the third electron, because if you add third electron, the principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, which governs the electronic configuration, will be violated. Okay, so only two electrons will be added to an orbital. So we can even say the maximum capacity of an orbital is restricted by Pauli's exclusion principle for two electrons. There is one more. Two electrons in an orbital must have opposite spin. This is also actually governed by Pauli's exclusion principle. The two electrons in an orbital must have opposite spin. So what do you mean by that? If one electron is added with the upward arrow mark, which indicates clockwise spin, another electron should have to be added in the downward arrow, that is anti-clockwise spin. So anyway, whenever you add two electrons into same orbital, you have to add like this only. That is restricted by the Pauli's exclusion principle. Is that okay? So you just need to remember these two things. An orbital can accommodate only two electrons. Third electron addition is restricted. It is not possible. Secondly, the spin of both the electrons should be opposite. Therefore, arrow mark should be written opposite. Okay. So this is Pauli's exclusion principle, which is like that. So based on this, if two electrons are added to orbital, so it should be added like this. I just now told you. Similarly, so you can see here 1s2. 1s2, two electrons can be.
Sir, can you move to previous slide once?
You're writing.
Done, sir.
I'll proceed now. Now you can see here, if you are filling the electron according to Aufbau principle, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2, something like that. You can see here 1s2, two electrons are added in the opposite spin like this. Similarly, 2s2, 2 electrons. Now 2p can accommodate 6 electrons, but only 2 electrons are added here. So they are added with the opposite spin like that. So if you by any chance add electrons like this, 1s2, 2s2 with both the spins, upward or downward, it is incorrect. Is it okay? Now this is correct according to Pauli's exclusion principle, accommodating electrons into the same orbital with opposite spin. But this part, has to be re-looked into. There is one more rule now we are going to take to govern the arrangement of electrons in 2p subshell. So that's why actually this particular arrangement may be correct according to Pauli's exclusion principle, but it has to be re-looked into by considering one more wrong. What is that exactly? Now we have understood Pauli's exclusion principle. The conclusion is an orbital can accommodate only 2 electrons. The spin of 2 electrons should be opposite. That much is the conclusion. We have one more. Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. If you think it is too long, you can simply say Hund's rule. Okay. What is the statement? Pairing up of electron takes place in orbitals of equal energy only when all the orbitals are singly occupied. You didn't understand? So we'll read it again. Pairing up of electrons takes place in orbitals of equal energy only when all the orbitals are singly occupied by electrons. Orbitals of equal energy is the word which is little bothering us. What do you mean by that? So now P subshell, when we write, P subshell when we write, there are 3 orbitals in P subshell we just have written. Okay, all these 3 p orbitals have same energy. I'll write E, same energy. So orbitals of same energy are called by the word degenerate orbitals. Degenerate orbitals. So we say P subshell has 3 orbitals which are degenerate, means same energy. Similarly, D subshell has how many orbitals with same energy? D subshell. 5 orbitals.
5 orbitals.
All the 5 orbitals have same energy. So that's why we align all the 5 boxes together like this. So that itself shows that they have same energy aligned like this. 3 orbitals of P subshell are aligned. D subshell 5. Similarly, F, all the 7 are aligned together. So
What do you mean by singly occupied?
that's what I'm explaining that. Okay. Don't worry. Now tell me, what is the maximum capacity of P subshell?
6.
6. Okay. Now before adding 6, I'll just add the 3 electrons first. Okay, I'll add 3 electrons. Okay. 3 electrons, when we add, how do they occupy in P subshell will be governed by Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. What does it say? Pairing up of electron takes place in orbitals of equal energy. So fine, P subshell has 3 orbitals of equal energy. Only when all the orbitals are singly occupied. So there should be at least one electron in each orbital, then only pairing takes place. So now 3 electrons, how do we add? I'll add one here. I can't add one more here because it is restricted by Hund's rule. Pairing doesn't take place till all the orbitals are singly occupied.
There are only two possibilities, one in each orbital and two in each orbital.
That's all. Very good. That's the correct answer. So we always give analogy like this. So if there is an empty bus, let's say you are getting into a school bus. So empty bus. So all the students will rush in. First they take window side. So every seat will be filled with one student in the window side. If all the window sides are singly occupied, then inevitably the next student who gets in have to get accommodated in the adjacent to the student who is already there. The pairing happens only when all the window side seats are singly occupied. That's the meaning of that. Okay, so we'll take this. Now you can see here the same thing. I'll just remove this part so that you can see clearly. Okay. So in this representation, you can see here 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 3 electrons are there. So there are 3 orbitals of p subshell. Each has to have one electron. So you cannot add one orbital 2 electron and another one. No. So pairing happens only when all the orbitals are singly occupied. Okay. Now if I add like this, it becomes incorrect. So this is incorrect. So that is Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity for you. We can take some more examples. So writing electronic configuration of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Okay. Okay, I have shown that anyhow. Can anybody give me the electronic configuration of carbon? Carbon atomic number is 6. When I say atomic number is 6, there are 6 electrons in the atom of carbon. How are these 6 electrons?
2,4.
Pardon me?
2,
2,4 is the way you fill the electrons in your 10th standard or 9th standard. In PU, we will not fill like that. That means it is fundamentally it is correct. First shell has 2 electrons. Second shell now in the carbon has 4 electrons. But
Sir, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2.
Like that, we need to give complete details. Which orbital of which subshell and which shell, this much we need to write. Okay, so 6 electrons are there. Okay, carbon atomic number Z is the symbol 6. So how would we write now? So first orbital that fills according to Oppo principle, 1s. Next is 2s. Next is 2p. What is the maximum electron that you add to 1s? 2 electrons. Next to 2s will accommodate 2 more. So out of 6, 4 already filled. How many are remaining? 2 will be there in 2p. That's what you people say up to 10th standard. So 2, 4 you would say. This is 2, this is 4. So now henceforth you should write all the details like what do you mean by 1s2? 2 electrons are there in S orbital of S subshell, which is belonging to first shell. So this is shell. S is subshell and orbital also represented there. So 2 electrons are there in S orbital of S subshell in first shell. Like that, when you come to 2p2, what do you mean by that? There are 2 electrons in 2 orbitals of p subshell in second shell. That's the meaning. Is that okay? And now, can anybody give me electronic configuration in that way? Neon, can you type and send me chat box? Because in other batches also, people very neatly type and send it through the chat. Let's see. Can you give fluorine and neon both? I want fluorine and neon. You can take 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I'm observing the chat box. Oh, aprameya. So 1s2, 2s2. See, look at that. Look at that. My God. Super. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's super. Gan 1:2:2 pieces. Correct. How about remaining people? How about remaining people? Is Sarthaka there?
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing your answer.
Sir, what's the question, sir? Florence.
Write the electronic configuration of neon and fluorine in the chart.
Yes, sir.
Yes, fluorine already people are started giving exactly. That's also correct. So very nice, very nice, very nice. I say 1:2:2 2p5. Amodhini. Oh, that's very good. Yes. We will take electronic configuration. I'll just remove this part. You can see here. Okay. Still responses are there in the chat box. That's correct, Sarthaka. Yes. Right. We shall take it further. You can see here all the electronic configuration of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon has been given here. Now carbon 1:2 2p2. People have to answer my questions now. Why electrons are filled into 1s orbital, then 2s and then 2p? Come on. What is the answer? Why electrons are filled into 1s first and then 2s and then 2p?
Sir,
increasing energy level.
That is Pauli's exclusion principle. Hund's rule, which is that rule?
Gauss principle.
Gauss principle.
Half of it. Fantastic. Why there are only 2 electrons accommodated in 2s?
Is restricted by the Pauli's exclusion principle.
Fantastic. Why all the 3 electrons of nitrogen are singly occupied in 2p subshell?
Due to the Hund's rule.
Hund's rule. Okay. Why there are only 2 unpaired electrons in oxygen atom?
Because the electron configuration tells that there are 8 electrons, and in order of using Hund's rule, after 3 electrons are singly occupied, the last left out electron should be again paired in the same order.
That's correct. That's a complete answer and also more than expected. Okay, very nice. So now fluorine. Fluorine has only 1 electron again. That's because there are 5 electrons in 2p subshell. All the 5 electrons will be arranged like this. First 3 enter singly and remaining 2 get paired. Is that okay? Now answer the question. Be fast. How many paired electrons in 2p subshell of oxygen atom?
One pair.
One pair. How many? One pair. Correct. One pair. How many unpaired electrons in 2p subshell of nitrogen atom?
Nitrogen.
3.
3. How many unpaired electrons in 2p subshell of fluorine?
1.
Fluorine.
How many unpaired electrons in 2p subshell of neon?
0.
0.
How many paired electrons in neon?
3.
2p subshell. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so that's nice. We'll take a further. The last one and an important one is stability of orbitals. See, Hund's rule, Pauli's exclusion principle. Okay, Abba principle, everything is over. then stability of orbit. There is something called n plus L rule also. Again, that requires the knowledge of quantum numbers. N plus L rule. That is again interpreting Hopper principle in slightly a different manner. That's all. So n plus L rule, not to worry, we'll take up later. So this is stability of orbital, which is fundamentally required. What is this? You take any subshell or you take any orbital, half filled and completely filled orbitals are more stable. Then which is less stable? Half filled and completely filled
Not
orbitals.
filled.
It
has no electron in it.
no electron. No electron. There's no question of stability because electrons are not there. Correct.
So half filled.
Half filled, completely filled orbitals are more stable. Yes, I told. Which is then less stable?
Sir, like, sir, if in a capacity of, sir, if 8 electrons are there, in-
Less than half filled.
Okay.
In an orbital without following.
That is what we call. That is what we call partially filled. Okay. So half filled, completely filled orbitals are more stable. So partially filled orbitals are less stable. Okay. So half filled is also a special case of partially filled only. But it is a special case. That's why half and completely filled orbitals are more stable. Then the other ones are partially filled. They are less stable. Now, which is half filled, which is completely filled, which is partially filled, we need to find out, right? Okay. Before that, okay, we just find out. Now tell me, I would take a P subshell. What is half? What is full filled?
sir, half is 3, full is 6.
Half is P3, full is 6.
6.
D, half is
Five.
Half is 5.
full is
Seven.
F,
7 is half.
And 14 is full.
S,
9
Yes.
is half.
1 is half, full is 2.
Two.
full is. That's all. And now I'll give the electronic configuration, which with each subshell. You have to tell me whether it is half filled, full filled, or partially filled. Okay, make it fast.
Okay, sir.
I would say P2.
Partially filled.
Partially filled.
Fantastic. D2.
Partially filled.
S2.
Full.
Full filled. P3.
Half filled.
D3.
Partially filled.
S3.
Does not exist.
Huh?
Overfilled.
S3 cannot be.
It will
Overfilled,
never-
huh?
Non-existent.
Due to
Invisible.
Pauli's.
Pardon me? Now S3, first of all, is it possible or not?
No.
Not possible according to Hund's rule or Aufbau. Which is that?
Pauli's exclusion.
Exactly.
Principle.
Pauli restrict that. Is not possible. Okay. F7,
Half filled.
Half filled.
P7,
Does not
Not exist.
Not possible.
T7,
Half. Oh no.
Partially filled.
Partially filled.
Almost filled.
now we have understood what is partial, what is half, and what is full. Now we need to decide whether it is stable or less stable. What did we say based on this rule? Half filled is stable and completely filled is also stable compared to partially filled. Okay. Now P2, is it stable, less stable?
Less
Stable.
Less stable because it's partial. P3,
stable.
Stable.
F7,
Stable.
stable. D7,
No, unstable.
Unstable.
unstable is not exactly correct. We say less stable.
Less stable.
Unstable means it doesn't exist. Okay.
Partial.
Now D3,
Less stable.
P3,
Unstable.
P3. P3 is
Stable.
Stable.
more stable.
Stable.
Sir, D7 is considered as partially filled, no, sir?
So it is less stable.
Okay, sir.
D10,
Stable.
Stable.
S3,
Not
Non.
Not possible.
Not possible.
not okay, like that. Now, the question could arise, why so? Okay, why half-filled and completely filled orbitals are relatively more stable when compared to the partially filled ones? So, how is that? What is the reason for that? Reason for that? See, in case of half-filled and completely filled orbitals, the symmetry is more. Higher symmetry will be induced due to higher symmetry will induce more stability into the system. So it's like balancing always. Okay. So exactly each orbital is 50% is more symmetric arrangement. Symmetry induces more stability into the system. Okay. In that way, for example, if you take p sub shell, if you add one electron, it is symmetric arrangement. It is more stable. If you add completely 6 electrons, it is much more symmetric. So that's why compared to P3 electronic configuration, P6 is more stable between the two. So half and completely filled orbitals are more stable. Between half and completely filled is much more stable because that incur more stability into the system. Did you understand? That's why nitrogen, what is the electronic configuration of nitrogen? I'll just go back to the previous.
2s1,
1s2,
2s2,
2s2,
2p.
P3. Is it half filled?
Yes.
Half filled. What is the electronic configuration of neon? 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 6. Is it
6.
full?
Yes, fully filled.
So between nitrogen and neon, which is more stable?
Neon.
It's noble gas. Noble gases are quite stable. Inert elements. Correct. So that's why between half and full filled, half filled is more stable. And generally, half and completely filled are both more stable when compared to partial filled. Okay. So higher symmetry induce more stability into the system. Half and full filled are more symmetric than partially filled ones. Because of this, so they are more stable. Okay. So hope these are all the rules which need to be understood while writing the electronic configuration. Is it okay? So shall I proceed now? Oh, are you writing down or I can proceed?
Sir, can you give me 1 second, sir?
Yeah, please. Purjit.
Yes, sir. Completed.
Yes, thank you. So I'll proceed. Basically, you need to know noble gas electronic configuration. It helps in many ways. Okay, 18th group elements in the periodic table. They're called noble gases, inert gases, rare gases, or 0th group elements. These are all the different names. So, because this noble gas electronic configuration will be used as a reference to represent the inner core electrons in any element. So, therefore, we need to know these noble gases. Can anybody tell me the noble gases? All the noble gases? Let's see.
May I?
Come on.
Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon.
That's all.
Argon.
Argon is there, she told.
Radon.
Radon. Very good. Okay. So radon is the last one, and that is radioactive. It is not stable. Okay. So rest all are quite stable. Radon is radioactive. Okay. So included in that is radon. Okay. Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. So now helium atomic number 2. So 1s2 is the electronic configuration. You can see there is completely filled shells. Neon atomic number 10, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, completely filled shells. So completely filled shells incur more stability than off-filled, than partially filled. Argon, you can see there neon 10. This is what I told you. So while writing electronic configuration of argon, you can represent inner core electrons similar to the nearest noble gas. Now, neon has 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 10 electrons. So I would write neon 10, and next after 2p, 3s2, 3p6 will be filled. So you can see again it is completely filled orbitals. Krypton, argon 18, you can see 3d. After 3d, 3d fills after 4s. But though we have written order like this 3d, 4s, 4p like that, but while filling the electrons, first electron should go to 4s, then should come to 3d, then write 4. Okay, just for the for maintaining the order, 3d, 4s, 4p is written. But while filling, after argon 18, that is 3p6, electrons must be added to 4s and then 3d, then go to 4p. So xenon, this is the electronic configuration, and radon. Okay, so radon, you can see first 6s fills, then 4f, then 5d, then 6p. It goes like that. Is that okay? Now, what is one important thing to note? Except helium, all these other noble gases have outermost 8 electrons. 2 plus 6, 8. See, third shell, 3s2, 3p6, 2s2, 2p6. It is a second shell, 8 electrons are there. Third shell, 8 electrons in argon. Krypton, fourth shell, outermost shell, 8 electrons are there. In xenon, fifth shell is the outermost shell, 8 electrons are there. Sixth shell is the outermost shell, 8 electrons are there. So they all have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Having 8 electrons in the outermost shell induces lot of stability. So that is called by some name. Anybody knows about it? Having 8 electrons in the outermost shell?
Octet configuration.
Octet. See, this octet is so much important for elements that every element in the periodic table, in one or the other way, tend to attain this 8 number of electrons in the outermost shell, either by losing electrons or by gaining electrons. So they always go to the periodic table from the beginning. There is S block elements, they lose electrons and remain octets or attain octet.
Sir, they
So
won't.
right hand side, pardon?
Sir, won't they share also?
That is also possible. So they tend to attain 8 number of electrons by losing or gaining. If it is not possible to lose or gain and attain the octet, they will share. So look at that. There is a kind of intelligence there. Okay, human-like behavior. So you give or you take and attain. If nobody is ready to give or take, you negotiate with them for sharing. That is also happening. Okay, so same thing happens. Correct. Now this electronic configuration you just need to remember, and APO principle, and with the hint that after 4s 3d fills, after 6s 4f fills, 4f 5d 6p. So you can easily remember like this. Okay, so let's proceed. Some concept revision questions, CRQ, MCQ, multiple choice questions. So we will have in my class CRQs often, concept revision questions. That means you will be asked some questions and thereby we will revise the concept also. Okay, so I'll ask the question. Name the rules related to the questions here. I think we'll do 3 electron of 2p subshell, 2p orbitals are singly occupied. Which rule?
Hunt's
That's fantastic. 4s orbital fills first and then 3d.
Gauss
principle. An orbital can accommodate only 2 electrons.
Pauli's exclusion.
Pauli's exclusion principle.
Exclusion.
Ferric ion is more stable than ferrous ion.
Hunt's rule.
Hunt's rule.
How?
Because it's more symmetrical.
So ferric ion is 2 plus, whereas ferrous ion is 3. Valence.
What? If it is plus 3, it is more stable. Huh?
So that means in the last orbital there are 3 electrons in the p orbital in ferrous ion. So it is half filled and more stable than ferric ion, which has 2 electrons in the.
That means the charge which is there written on iron, Fe 3 plus, does it indicate electrons in 2p?
No, not 2p.
Then you need to tell me, no, which orbital has what. Come on, I'll give you a little time. People have to let me know. So what is that you need to basically do? Write electronic configuration of which one? Iron. What is the atomic number of iron? Can anybody tell me?
25. 25 or 26, I think.
26. Okay. So what do you need to do? Write electronic configuration of iron. Atomic number 26. Then
1s2, 2s2.
no, you come on, do it. Or you can even type it and send it through the chat. Now, but it is not the atom that they have given. It is ion, ferric ion, ferrous ion. So ferrous ion is Fe2 plus actually. This is ferrous. Ferric means Fe3 plus. Now, how do you get Fe2 plus from?
Sir, can I tell the answer?
Pardon me?
Sir, I think both are equally stable because in ion means it has a charge, but it has already gained an octet configuration.
Okay.
Though
But
it is an
so that
ion.
means you say question itself is wrong.
Sir, not wrong.
Okay. So now see Fe iron atom. When iron atom gets converted to Fe2 plus, it loses 2 electrons. When Fe atom converts to Fe3 plus, it loses 3 electrons. You need to write electronic configuration of Fe2 plus, Fe3 plus after writing iron atom. Then you look at the outermost electron, you will get some clue to explain why ferric ion is more stable. Can you do it now? I'll give you 1 minute.
Sir, because half means full filled is more stable than half filled.
Where it is more fulfilled?
So should I say the electronic configuration?
Sir?
Yeah, come on.
Sir, Fe is argon 18 and 4s2 3d6.
Which one?
Iron.
Okay, let me write what you write. You say argon 18, correct?
So no, sir, no ion, not ionic, sir. The
okay,
normal
atom.
iron.
Can I tell?
Atom. Okay, let him complete.
Atom.
Argon 18. 3D.
Sir, 4s2 no, sir. 4s2 no.
4s2 3d6.
4s2
okay?
then.
No problem. Okay. 4s2 3d6, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then ferrous ion.
3d4 or 4s2.
3d4 4s2 na? Anybody else? Somebody was telling.
No, sir. It will be 3d6. No 4s.
No 4s. That means 4s 0. No 4s.
Because 4s is the outermost shell, so it will be the valence shell.
So Apramaya says 3d6 4s 0, correct?
No, because 4s will be filled first and then 3d according to the energy level.
Okay. And now.
According to Osborne, sir.
Okay, that's great. So what is the electronic configuration of ferric ion therefore?
Argon 18, 4s2, 3d3.
4s2 3d?
3.
Apramaya, do you want to say anything? Okay,
Sir,
Sarthaka.
is it E6?
Pardon me.
Sir, I want to say argon 18 and 3d5.
Argon 18, 3d5, 4s0. Okay.
Sir, what I was about to tell is here there is no electron in 4s, but in 3d6 it is partially filled, but here 3d5 it is half filled. So ferric ion is more stable.
Fantastic, I say. Okay. No issue. Since you don't know how exactly electrons are removed. See, iron has how many shells actually? See, 3d 4s. Iron has 4 shells. Okay. So if I represent iron atom like this, so first shell, second shell.
Excuse me, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, the 4 cell should be filled first, no, sir.
4s should be?
4s should be filled first, no, sir.
It is filled first, but since it is
No, correct. Let me explain. Let me explain. Okay. How electrons will be filled into iron? Iron atomic number 26. 1s. Let me use a different color so that it gives a contrast. Okay. So this is 1s, 2s2, 2p6. This is 3s2, 3p6. 3d is there, but it's not filled. Then 4s, then 3d6. This is how electrons will be. So this is electronic arrangement in iron. Okay. But when you convert Fe to Fe2 plus, we need to remove 2 electrons. Correct? So convert Fe to Fe2 plus, minus 2 electrons, remove 2 electrons. Generally, addition takes place from inner shells, removal takes place from outer shells. They are out. So Fe2 plus has 4s electrons removed. When you supply energy, always outermost electrons will be lost. So remember this. So it is therefore Fe2 plus would not have electrons in 4s. It is very similar to this 4s. Okay, 3d6 intact. Similarly, if you want to get Fe3 plus now, how many electrons must be removed? 3 electrons must be removed from iron to get Fe3 plus. Now 2 electrons will go away from 4s and 1 electron will go away from 3d6. So that it becomes 3d5, 4s0. So this is the correct electronic configuration of the Fe3 plus. Now you can see Fe2 plus has electronic configuration ending with 3d6 and Fe3 plus has electronic configuration ending with 3d5. 3d6 partially filled, we know, because half filled 3d is 3d5, full filled 3d is 3d10. In anything in between is partial. So 3d6 is partial and 3d5 is half. So tell me why Fe3 plus is more stable?
Because the orbitals
The
in
T
that
shell
has
is half filled.
Exactly. So because the orbital is half filled. Okay. So the orbital is half filled. So because of this, there is more stability induced into ferric ion. So in that way, look at this.
So for
FeCl2.
reasoning, should we
Tell me.
so for reasoning, should we mention d orbital specifically, or can you just tell orbital?
Once again, Amodini, I couldn't get you.
For reasoning this question, sir, can we say that the d orbital is half filled, or should we just say orbital? Like, should we mention d?
We should mention, because which orbital is half filled? We need to mention.
Oh,
3d is half
okay,
filled there. It induces more stability. Exactly. We need to mention.
yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Now people have to tell me FeCl2, FeCl3. Okay. Here, this is ferrous chloride. This is ferric chloride. Between the two, which is more stable?
Ferric chloride.
Chloride.
This is more because ferric ion is there in that. Likewise, FeO is ferrous oxide. Fe2O3 is ferric oxide. Which is less stable?
FeO.
Which is less stable, I'm asking.
Ferrous oxide.
Less stable. This is ferrous sulfate and this is ferric sulfate. Which is more stable?
Ferric.
Likewise. Is that okay? So this is how half filled and completely filled orbital adds to total stability. That's the meaning of that. Is that okay? So hope students, you have all understood the concept. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
Right. So I thought of writing electronic configuration of some of the elements. So that we'll do in our next class. Okay. So we'll have a little more basics to be discussed about formula and all this. So today it's enough. We'll continue in the next.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, since nitrogen has 2p3 and carbon has 2p2.
Okay.
In that case, with the law, shouldn't nitrogen be the ideal element for all life because it's more stable based on this law?
No. Why? What is the question at the end? What you asked me? Why not nitrogen becomes ideal element for forming all the compounds? So what is that?
Yes, sir.
And you,
But
I
carbon
have
is
understood
the-
your question like this. The carbon forms many thousands, millions of compounds because carbon is the element which forms the entire organic chemistry, right? No, the entire organic
Yes, sir.
means it is carbon. Why only carbon makes so many compounds? Why not nitrogen? Nitrogen only could have made millions of compounds. The entire organic branch is about carbon compounds. Why not nitrogen compounds? Is the question. Correct?
And nitrogen is more stable because it has partially filled electrons.
Correct. Now,
So why isn't that?
Sir, if it is more stable, it won't.
if it is more stable, first of all, it doesn't undergo reaction. N2, for example, N2, it doesn't even react. See, N2, its stability is so much that it comes after noble gas. Okay, point number one. So when it is more stable, it doesn't react. Point number one. Secondly, carbon forms wide variety of compounds, millions, billions of compounds, for the reason that it is tetravalent. It has catenation property, not because something about stability. Okay, so because of catenation and tetravalency, it's like, with two hands you can do so much of work. If you have two more hands perpendicular to that, or at least in series, you can do many things. So it is like getting more and more possibilities. So carbon having four hands, four valencies, it can hold chains here, that like this. It can make a straight chain, it can make a zigzag chain, it can make a designed chains, everything like that. So that so much possibility with more valency, that's tetravalency, results in different possibility of compound. Point number one, catenation is the remarkable property that carbon has, which nitrogen doesn't. Catenation number of nitrogen is limited. It's not like carbon, which is unlimited. Carbon can form compound of length of any carbon atom. 10,000, 20,000 molecular mass is also there. Okay, so that's it. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Right, sir. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
we'll
sir.
meet for the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Yes. I'm going to end the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.